Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. In this video we'll be talking about the EOS R5 Mark II just released by Canon, and to be clear, I have not seen or physically touched the Canon R5 Mark II, but I'm just giving my thoughts on the camera based on the specs from Canon themselves and also other creators. So let's just go over the specs of the Canon R5 Mark II. The Canon R5 Mark II comes with the 45 megapixel back illuminated stacked sensor, 8K raw video up to 60p, 4K up to 120p, and 2K up to 240p. It shoots 30 FPS electronically and 12 FPS mechanically. The R5 Mark II features a new processor, Digic accelerator, with the existing Digic X engine. Naturally, the R5 Mark II should be an upgrade to the R5 Mark I. So in this video, we'll be examining them side by side to see just how much the Canon push the R5 Mark II. So one of the issues that came with the R5 Mark I was the overheating issue. It was, it was a big deal. But in the R5 Mark II, Canon has, they made it intentional and they engineered the R5 Mark II body to have vents where air can pass through, those hot air can leave the camera. And they also went a bit further to make a battery grip with a cooling fan. So now when you get the R5 Mark II, you can also include the cooling grip into your setup to make sure you have, just way more time, you have less overheating issues. So in this video, I'll be highlighting 3 cool features that I think makes the Canon R5 Mark II a little bit better than the R5 Mark I to me. The first one, shooting stills and videos concurrently. Now, for someone like me that is a hybrid shooter, I think that feature is something that is beneficial, because you can be making videos and you just see something that you don't want to screen record it, you don't want to screen grab it, you just want to have a high quality, high resolution picture. You can easily just take a picture. Although one of the drawbacks of this feature is that it can only be done in HD and JPEG formats. So I mean, it's a good initiative, because I believe that subsequently, Canon can allow photographers or videographers to do this in RAW format. But I mean, that is a cool feature to have, when you can just take stills and take videos concurrently. You don't need to switch to video, you don't need to switch back to photos. It's just, you just do it. I think that's cool. The second feature is the in-camera upscaling. Canon Deep Learning allows JPEGs to be enlarged by up to 4 times, up to 96 megapixels. Now, if you are someone that cares about megapixels very much, I think this feature is something that will come in handy, because you can increase the megapixels of your pictures and it's done inside the camera. The third feature is maintain tracking, and this allows your camera, the R5 Mark II, to track a subject. When you're tracking a subject, even if an object or a subject comes in front of that subject, it still maintains the focus of the initial subject. And I think that is a very helpful feature, because sometimes interruptions or distractions just come in front of the camera, and by the time your camera will be trying to focus back on your main subject, on your initial subject, you have missed the actions. So I think that is a very useful feature to have. So let's just go over the specs of the Canon R5 Mark II and R5 Mark I side by side. Let's see just how much upgrade did Canon give the R5 Mark II. So megapixels, Canon R5 Mark I shoots 45 megapixels. R5 Mark II also shoots 45 megapixels, but the advantage the R5 Mark II has is that it is a stacked sensor in-body stabilization. R5 Mark I has 8 stops of IBS, while the R5 Mark II has 8.5 stops, which means it's 0.5 stops higher, more stable than the R5 Mark I. Subject detection. Canon R5 Mark I and Mark II both have body, face, eye, animal, vehicle, but the R5 Mark II has an edge with the new action priority mode, where it has 3 sports, I think volleyball, basketball, and soccer. Yes, those 3. That's an added advantage for the R5 Mark II. Another aspect to be looking at it is low light autofocus. The Canon R5 Mark II is 0.5 stops more sensitive than the R5 Mark I. Continuous shooting speed. R5 Mark I shoots 20 fps electronic, while the R5 Mark II shoots 30 fps electronic. But they still have the same mechanical, which is 12 fps. Video format and codecs. The Canon R5 Mark I shoots 8K RAW up to 30p, while the R5 Mark II shoots 8K RAW up to 60p. And when you go through the list of the video format and codecs, I think another addition to the R5 Mark II is C-Log 2, and I think many creators have been waiting for the C-Log 2 in the mirrorless system. The LCD touchscreen is still the same in the Canon R5 Mark II. The very angle and in size and dimension, everything about the R5 Mark I is still the same in the R5 Mark II. The body weight, the R5 Mark II is 746 grams and the R5 Mark I is 738 grams. Battery life. The R5 Mark II features a new battery pack, which is the LPE6P battery, and with this battery the R5 Mark II can shoot 380 shots in energy saving mode with EVF and 630 shots in energy saving mode with LCD screen. If you are using the older batteries, which is the LPE6NH batteries, then the R5 Mark I shoots 320 shots in energy saving mode with EVF and 490 shots in energy saving mode with the LCD screen. So the R5 Mark II has a longer battery life than the R5 Mark I. That is when you use the new battery pack, when you use the LPE6P batteries. So we just finished comparing the R5 Mark II with its predecessor, which is the R5 Mark I, and I mean it's natural, or it should the R5 Mark II should be better than the R5 Mark I. But how about comparing it with the Nikons and the Sonys? So let's compare the R5 Mark II with the Nikon Z6 Mark III we just released this year also. So I've made it easier by making a list of the areas where the R5 Mark II has an edge over the Nikon Z6 Mark III. So let's just get into that. The R5 Mark II has no blackout during continuous shooting, while the Z6 Mark III does have blackout during continuous shooting. The R5 Mark II has no extra crop applied when shooting at 4K 120p, while the Nikon Z6 Mark III has a 1.50x crop when shooting 4K 120p video. The Canon R5 Mark II has an anti-dust shutter mechanism, which means the shutter is closed to protect the sensor, while the Nikon Z6 Mark III doesn't have this kind of mechanism. Your shutter is open every time. Eye control autofocus. Canon R5 Mark II locks autofocus on desired subject. It has eye control autofocus, while the Nikon Z6 Mark III doesn't have eye control autofocus. Sensor resolution. Canon R5 is 45 megapixels and the Nikon Z6 Mark III is 25 megapixels. Now let's go to focus points, the number of focus points. The Canon R5 Mark II has 5,940 focus points, while the Z6 Mark III has 273 focus points. Continuous shooting. The Canon R5 Mark II shoots 30 fps, while the Z6 Mark III shoots 20 fps. Battery life. The R5 Mark II shoots 620 shots from a single charge, while the Z6 Mark III shoots 380 shots from a single charge. Weight. The R5 Mark II weighs 746 grams, while the Z6 Mark III weighs 760 grams. Maximum video resolution. The R5 Mark II shoots 8K, while the highest resolution from the Z6 Mark III is 6K. Now in these areas, the R5 Mark II has an edge. So let's see the Z6 Mark III against the R5 Mark II, where it has an edge over the Canon R5 Mark II. The Nikon Z6 Mark III has a larger viewfinder magnification at 0.8x, while the R5 Mark II is at 0.76x. Max ISO. The Nikon Z6 Mark III has a maximum ISO of 64,000, while the R5 Mark II has 51,200. The Z6 Mark III also has a faster electronic shutter at 1/16,000th of a second, while the R5 Mark II is at 1/8,000th of a second. Another aspect the Z6 Mark III has an edge over the R5 Mark II is in lower light. Lastly, the R5 Mark II doesn't have insect tracking. I mean, if it's something you're interested in, if you shoot insects, the Z6 Mark III performs better because it has insect tracking. Now we've compared the R5 Mark II with the R5 Mark I and also the Nikon Z6 Mark III. So let's compare it now with the Sony A9 Mark III, and let's go over areas where the R5 Mark II has an edge over the A9 Mark III. Canon R5 Mark II has eye control autofocus, while the Sony A9 Mark III doesn't have eye control autofocus. The R5 Mark II shoots 45 megapixels, while the A9 Mark III shoots 24 megapixels. So if megapixels is something that you care about, then the R5 Mark II also has an edge over the A9 Mark III. Max ISO. The Canon R5 Mark II has a max ISO of 51,200, while the A9 Mark III has 25,600. So R5 Mark II has an edge over the A9 Mark III also in max ISO. Number of focus points. The R5 Mark II has 5,940 focus points, while the A9 Mark III has 759. That is 5,181 more focus points than the A9 Mark III. The R5 Mark II also shoots higher video resolution than the A9 Mark III. Focus stacking. The R5 Mark II stacks photo in camera to maximize depth of field. The A9 Mark III doesn't have this feature. Minimum focus sensitivity. The R5 Mark II has a better autofocus in low light than the A9 Mark III. In-body stabilization. The R5 Mark II has 0.5 stop more effective stabilization than the A9 Mark III. So those are some areas that the R5 Mark II has an edge over the A9 Mark III. So now let's go over the areas where the A9 Mark III has an edge over the R5 Mark II. Gyroscopic stabilization. The A9 Mark III has gyroscopic stabilization, while the R5 Mark II doesn't have a gyroscopic stabilization. It is the ability to stabilize video in post-process. Global shutter. The A9 Mark III has a global shutter, while the R5 Mark II doesn't have a global shutter. The A9 Mark III screen tilts or flips out independently, which is perfect for both stills and videos, while the R5 Mark II doesn't have that range of motion with the screen. Viewfinder magnification. The A9 Mark III has 0.9x magnification, while the R5 Mark II has 0.76x magnification. The A9 Mark III has a faster electronic shutter than the R5 Mark II. Continuous shooting. The A9 Mark III shoots 120 fps, while the R5 Mark II shoots 30 fps. This is 90 fps faster than the R5 Mark II. Battery life. The A9 Mark III shoots 690 shots in a single charge, while the R5 Mark II shoots 620 shots in a single charge. Weight. The A9 Mark III weighs 678 grams, while the R5 Mark II weighs 746 grams, which makes the A9 Mark III lighter than the R5 Mark II. Flash sync ports. The A9 Mark III has flash sync ports, while the Canon R5 Mark II doesn't have a flash sync port. Ethernet port. The A9 Mark III has an Ethernet port, while the R5 Mark II doesn't have an Ethernet port. The A9 Mark III has the ability to do focus mapping, while the R5 Mark II doesn't have the ability to do focus mapping. Insect tracking autofocus. Yet again, in this category, the A9 Mark III has the ability for insect tracking, while the Canon R5 Mark II, I don't think Canon cares about insect. I'll be putting the price of the Canon R5 Mark I, the Canon R5 Mark II, Sony A9 Mark III, and Nikon Z6 Mark III, and you can see for yourself the prices of these cameras. The Canon R5 Mark II is a really solid camera. We've compared it with the R5 Mark I, the Sony A9 Mark III, the Nikon Z6 Mark III, and I think it still stands its ground as an upgrade to its predecessor. And depending on your choice, depending on your preference, depending on your process, so should you upgrade from the Canon R5 Mark I to the Canon R5 Mark II? I think that is a question only you'll be able to answer. So with that, I've come to the end of this video. Finally, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video if you found it helpful. I'll see you in the next one.